Hello, coffee culture family. Today, I am here with a very special guest, Hiromi Okuyama. And before I read any of her bio, which we will get to, I met her actually on Clubhouse, and I'm going to say it was like the perfect demonstration of the coffee meetup because every day I would make my cup of coffee and then I would find Hiromi on the Clubhouse app and we would be chatting in rooms with people and just having a great time and learning from each other. And it's kind of funny how my coffee meetup was for a while there almost daily. I'd say
Mhm,
from like 8 to 10 in the morning, she and I would conduct mentorship and moderation
mhm.
on the platform. So hello, Hiromi. Welcome.
Hi, Holly. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, it was so beautiful to meet up. We were doing it 5 mornings a week
We
for
were.
months.
I know. I
And
know.
I'd had my Nespresso, and I think you had your coffee, and everybody else did too. And it was really nice. It was really beautiful that time.
It's so interesting that we met a long time ago and really you were an avatar for so long because the
Uh-huh.
way that particular app is, you just have the person's avatar. And
Yeah.
the only time I would see Hiromi is if I went on, like, say, TikTok or Instagram, but she would be doing what she does. It wasn't a conversation with her. So it's so interesting, like the diversity of that, like how our
Yes.
experience was. Um,
Yeah.
so with that, I should probably introduce you properly. So I'm going to read a
Okay.
little bio about Hiromi to everybody. She was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. She is a content creator, a martial artist. In fact, she's a fifth degree black belt and she's been teaching karate for 30 years. But I might add, she only looks 30 years old here. And she's an actress. She was also the Clubhouse social audio app icon from December to February 2023. And I'm also going to say that I called that
She did.
when when we were on there. She came in one day and she was talking. I can't even remember what you were talking about. Maybe you were doing one of the beta tests for something. And I was just listening to you and I'm like, I'm stopping this conversation. I'm calling it here. You are going to be the Clubhouse icon. And you were laughing. You were like,
I
no
never
way.
thought. Yeah.
And here you are. So, a few things about Hiromi is that she's very passionate about short form video content
Mhm,
creation. She really is. If you go follow her on TikTok and Instagram, you'll see that. And as an actress, since her teens, she worked primarily in commercials and was
mhm,
featured in advertisements from Walmart,
mhm.
Scotiabank, Pizza Hut, Nortel, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, which by the way is a coffee shop,
Yes.
Future Shop, and many more. And working in commercials and in this short form type of format,
Mhm,
it really like got her ready for TikTok and Instagram Reels, if you think
mhm,
about it, because it's the same kind of format. She has on TikTok over 200,000 supporters
mhm,
and a branded hashtag, which is Hiromi Acts, if
mhm.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it has over 40 million views.
Yeah.
Holy crap. She creates fun mom acting challenges and has followers from around the world. And they recreate like some of your acting scenes, or they collaborate with you
Mhm,
and mix like the reel and you have like a conversation back and forth. So, you're still with Clubhouse. You're
mhm,
still hosting and moderating. And she started in 2021 her own online e-commerce store called HiromiKuyama.com. All these links will be in the show notes along with her URL. And the merch on there is features her father's famous calligraphy in an effort to continue to carry the legacy of her cultural heritage. And if you hold up your coffee mug there, your
Oh,
cup, people can see like one of your, see, here's something right
yeah.
there. Isn't that the
Yeah.
coolest? I love it. I love it. So let's dig in a little bit.
Okay.
I'm all about connection, and we
Mhm.
met on Clubhouse. I haven't been on there as much. Are you still feeling that same, type of connection? Is the atmosphere the same on there?
So since we were doing rooms last year, which I believe we were doing rooms so regularly, there has been so many changes on Clubhouse since then. They introduced a new feature, and it was in beta test for the longest time, called houses. And now actually they're going to convert all clubs into houses. So they're working on that right now. But I was actually one of the early adopters for the houses. So I got my house back in July, the summer of last year. And so being an early adopter, I was able to connect with a lot of the Clubhouse team and what they call power users. Power users are the people that really know the Clubhouse app. A lot of them are beta testers, so we're all volunteer beta testers. They have a beta tester kind of club house. It was kind of a private house, and we did a lot of bug testing, reported features that we think would improve it. And over almost, it'll be, oh my goodness, almost a year, it's going to be into the whole shift. They're going to have houses which is more community based, and a lot of the accountability will be on the founders, but we also have a lot of more controls. And I feel that it's more intimate in some ways. You can have it as intimate or as big as you want, but I find the conversations and that community aspect is going to be increased from what we've known since when we were on it together.
So, have you found that the houses and some of the features, there's been a lot of cross pollination from the people who follow you on TikTok and Instagram into the house? Do they come for the hospitality and a cup of coffee with Hiromi?
So yeah, usually I am on in the evenings now, but I am trying to get back in the during the day because I miss the mornings and the coffee and getting to know everybody. I still do go into a lot of rooms that I support in the mornings and the afternoons. Just there's so many rooms, incredible rooms throughout the day. I I I do tell a lot of my followers on other platforms about Clubhouse. I always put a link. If I'm in a room, I put a direct link to Twitter. And then if I am doing a room, I would put it in my Instagram stories. TikTok, a lot of so my audience on TikTok is generally a little bit different than my audience on Instagram and Twitter. So you kind of have to know where your audience is. And I find I do add links from my now currently Clubhouse to LinkedIn as well. So knowing where my audience is and knowing where to promote is I think key to finding the right people to come into my rooms
Have
or the
you
rooms I'm hosting or the rooms I'm supporting. Mhm.
Are you struggling with the volatility that all of the platforms are having? Like, I feel like,
Mhm.
you know, Instagram has become so dense with ads, TikTok,
Mhm.
everything that's going on with it being possibly
Mhm.
shut down,
Yeah.
Twitter with all of the bots and the
Mhm.
changes. How is that affecting what you do? Because a lot of what you do to promote yourself is on social.
You know, I just, for me, because I'm so present on so many different platforms, of course, TikTok is my largest one. And actually, Clubhouse, even though I don't have the amount of followers that some of the big, huge content creators have, I find with Clubhouse, even if you have not the most followers, you can still have a really engaged community, which is why I really love social audio app. It kind of drowns out a lot of the quote unquote noise, pun intended, but it does drown out a lot of noise because it's only audio. And so I find that when I just find Clubhouse kind of grounds me, and then I can deal with the other stuff. And if one platform goes down, I'll just join another platform. It's not that it's easy, but I know I can navigate my way around different platforms because of my experience on so many different social media platforms.
That's very interesting that you're able to navigate through that.
Yeah.
A lot of digital creation, almost anybody you talk to in branding will say that you have to own your audience. And
Yes.
so they try to drive you to their email
Yeah.
and build their email list because, as we know, any one of the social media apps could just disappear
Mhm.
overnight. And then that 200,000 followers you have or 50, they're
Mhm.
completely gone and they have no way to get back in touch with you. You don't know who they are.
Mhm.
Are you building out anything for yourself that is more tangible in case that happens?
Yeah, so everybody talks about the importance of having an email list, and I do have an email list, luckily, with my store. So I should promote it more. So I do have that. But one thing that I think is super important, and I know that you would totally agree with this, is having a really important brand that people see you. So, for example, if one app goes down, or if I don't see somebody that I really followed a lot before, I'm wondering, where are they now? I can just Google them or even search their handle on another platform, like, okay, there they are. So I do try to secure my handle on all the social media platforms that I'm involved with. And also I try to keep, and this is great, a lot of branding experts have taught me this, and I see this with your picture too. I try to keep the same photo consistent throughout all platforms. So they're like, okay, there's Hiromi, I found her. So if
Mhm.
someone missed me on one platform, they can easily find me on another with the branding.
That's a good idea. I sort of did that, but
Mhm.
not realizing so much like how important it was. Like I didn't realize people might be searching me from
Mhm.
platform to platform because we all don't play on the same ones either.
Mhm.
Like I've gotten away from Twitter because I
Mhm.
just can't seem to grow there. And as much as I like Instagram, it's actually one of my favorite ones.
Mhm.
I don't grow on there either. I have flatlined a long time ago on that, and I've stopped asking people to follow or anything because it's just,
Yeah.
it's just it flatlined. It's just
Yeah.
not, it's not moving anywhere. So hopefully my picture, like you said, will help at some point.
Yeah.
So I actually want to dive into your store a little bit and
Oh, okay.
yeah, I want to understand um so it's the connection to your legacy that was born out of and your father with his calligraphy, you were using that. Did you also do martial arts with him as well or was that separate uh from
Okay, so I'll start with the martial arts. So my father is a very high-ranking master in the karate world. He is known all over the world. He gets invited to so many countries. I can't even list them everywhere. And he's still being asked to be invited, but because of the pandemic, he had to, of course, halt his visits. So yes, he has a very big reputation of being a karate master. And being his daughter, of course, I had to start when I was really young, and I kind of rebelled like most children throughout my teenage and university years. And I didn't think I would get back into karate. And then when I was in my late 20s, I'm like, oh my goodness, let me get back into it. And also, it also helped with my acting career because my dad would let me teach for him, do his admin work, and then I can go off to auditions and take off work if I. It was very flexible for me, so it actually worked both ways. And then I realized how much I love karate, and I always loved teaching. My mom always told me I was a natural teacher because I'm so great with kids, I guess, and I just love teaching kids karate. And as I even grew older, having a daughter and into my 30s, I started realizing my purpose empowering young girls to defend themselves. And so that was also furthering my mission of empowering young children to be strong in themselves. And we can go into this topic too, where I talk about consent-based teaching. I love to teach kids on respecting having people respect their boundaries and respect who they are. We would talk about the invisible bubble. So that was my intention with karate and martial arts with my father. The second thing with my store, it actually didn't start off with calligraphy.
Oh, okay.
uh Yeah, it was so weird. I always wanted to do merch. I don't know why. I always wanted to. And so finally being on Clubhouse, listening to all these great business coaches and entrepreneurs, I'm like, I want to start my own online store. And I didn't realize how crazy that idea was. And so I did. I got a business coach from Clubhouse, and I got a web designer, and we did a store. And I was first doing slogans from what I learned from TikTok. So I was carrying my TikTok kind of persona onto my merch. But that didn't do as well as I hoped. And so I knew I had to shift. And then I'm with the company, the print on demand company, Printful.
Mhm.
And so what they have these great seminars. And so I went to a seminar, and they had an artist feature. And I went, wait a second, my dad's a really great artist. His calligraphy is revered all around the world. Why don't I put his calligraphy on merch? And I'm like, wow, okay. And then so that's where I shifted. And then I also started a Shopify store. So that was my shift as well. So in business, we always have to shift, uh, to grow. So that's how that came about as well.
I remember when you first opened that store, I'd forgotten that you had done some other types of
Yes.
merchandise in there. But you had such a connection to the karate and
Yes.
your father's art. It sounds like that evolution was inevitable.
Yes. Yeah.
And I didn't realize your work with young girls, and
Yeah.
you are the consummate teacher, because I see you on like your reels. And I mean, I'm not on TikTok anymore, but um I remember seeing you like act out situations
Mhm.
with Gen Z.
Mhm.
And it was kind of a way to allow us to kind of laugh at ourselves and our
Mhm.
difficulty sometimes to communicate with different generations, but also I felt like you opened a lane, like a door for people to understand how to talk to different you know what I mean? Like what not to do versus what to do. Do,
Mhm.
is that what kind of feedback were you getting from people who are following that?
Ah, I used to go live a lot. I haven't gone live for a while, but I would get a lot of Gen Zs in my comments and on my lives telling me how much they love my videos. My TikTok is very wholesome, very family friendly, and that's my purpose and intention. And I wanted parents, my generation, to know that it's okay to have these conflicts with your kids. And I did get some criticism. People are saying your teens are very rude to you, like the way I portrayed my teens. But I remember I wasn't the very nicest person to my mom, and that also is also my relationship with my mom, because my mom loves me unconditionally, even though I had my bad moods. Teens have their bad moods, and
Right.
they snap back at their moms, and they get annoyed with their moms. That's just, I find that's kind of normal in our North American society. And but the most important that I just kind of want to draw out is that even though we have these conflicts, even though the kids get annoyed with their moms, and the whole thing is that we love each other and we respect each other. And a lot of teens have reached out to me and said, sometimes I'll get really sad one, especially if I think the teens are from a different country that doesn't have this kind of more acceptance. They're like, I wish my mom was more like you. And I'm like, not all moms are perfect. I'm not perfect. And I try to tell them that our generation comes from a different generation where there wasn't mental health awareness, where there wasn't, we had to learn a lot of the traditional stuff of discipline, which was really not acceptable now, but that's what we had to live through. And I'm sure your mom loves you, as long as, I'm sure that your mom loves you. Uh, Try and see it from their point of view, and hopefully your relationship would be better. Like I try to, like, I'm not a therapist, and I tell the Gen Z kids that follow me that I'm not a therapist, but I try to tell them in the best way possible that we're a different generation, and hopefully, I don't know, I hope maybe relationship with their parents will improve by seeing how I talk with them. I don't know.
I think they
Do you
will. I
think
think
so?
it will. Yeah, I think there's like a
Yeah.
connection because you're opening that door for them to think
Yeah.
about it, you know? Um, and I mean, I don't know what generation you are. I'm Gen X,
Me too.
and we were just brought up very differently. You
Oh,
know,
I know.
there's a lot of truth to the fact that we were a bit of a lost generation
Yeah.
because, you know, nowadays, like people like will put their kids on the bus, we'll get them off the bus, we'll have, you know, the everything planned out for them, what's going to be happening, everything. And for us, like we got off the bus, we'd go change our clothes, if our parents were even around for starters. And if they were, they'd be like, go out and play. And then as soon as it got like dark,
Yep.
you know, be like towards 6:30 or something, you'd been out like for 3 hours in the wild. You know, we were like
Yep.
feral
Yep.
and we would be doing our own thing and we would come back for dinner. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't, there were no phones to see
Mhm.
like what we were doing. We probably got away with a lot of stuff, right? Like, I don't
Mhm.
know, but we would just like, if we were thirsty, we'd like drink out of the garden hose, or we would like go to a neighbor and knock on the door because we didn't want to go all the way back down the street to our house, right?
Yep.
It was just very different. And, you know, our parents were raised kind of from that
Mhm.
Dr. Spock world where it was
Mhm.
like, you know, like leave your baby to cry for 3 hours and don't check on it and it'll fall asleep eventually. I know I'm over exaggerating that. So don't get mad at me, people. I'm just trying to make a
Yeah.
point that it was just very, very different
Mhm.
the way we were raised. And it wasn't
Mhm.
right or wrong. And the way that Gen Z is being raised, again, is not right or wrong. And maybe they're going to need some therapy because of us. And maybe their kids are going to need some therapy because they're going to be doing it differently. Like we just need to be able to find ways to connect with each other and
Yeah.
not blame each other. Um, and I love that you are creating that channel and you're also discussing some hard topics around
Yeah.
mental health.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I try. I have some really lighthearted ones. Like I did one about fruit, and I try to incorporate a lot of my culture in it. Even though I was born in Canada, I'm Chinese and Japanese, so I try to incorporate some of my culture into it. So it's kind of like they're learning about my culture too. Uh, and then yeah, I have some really fun, lighthearted ones, but I have some. I throw in some deeper ones, like the mental health. I did do a series about uh, my child dating a narcissist. Like that was another one that was pretty deep. And yeah, but mental health. My most famous one is the periods of and this is really important nowadays, but especially with what's going on. But yeah, where I talk to my daughter or my child about having their periods, but the joke was they're already learning it in school. So I came too late to tell her, but it was based on a true story of my mom bringing period pads to me and telling me about periods. But I was learning it from her, but yeah, but it was just, yeah. So I go into those topics as well.
Well, you know, I love that you're getting the virality on those important
Yeah.
topics. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I talk often with people and they're always, everybody wants to go viral, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
wants to go viral. But what is your message? So you're
Yeah.
going viral and what is the message you're really sharing, right? So you're doing something really good. Like
Mhm.
you're bringing light to really important topics. A lot of people don't do they don't think about the ethics of what they're trying to go viral for. So
Mhm.
they're getting racy, they're getting super sexual,
Mhm.
they're, you know, wearing like as little as possible, you know, they're like
Mhm.
painting on a bikini top essentially, and
Mhm.
they're going for like anything that is like going to shock people.
Yeah.
And you know, at the end of the day, you have to be able to talk to your teenage daughter or your 6-year-old son or whatever, and they're going to see, you know, like you can't get rid of this. All the stuff that we do on social media, it doesn't go away because you decide to
Mhm.
stop being on a platform. It's there. You can be found. even in your
Mhm.
ugliest moments,
Yeah.
you can be found. And
Yeah.
I love that you're staying true to, I call this the ethical barometer. Like you keep it in check, like what you're doing, um, is to help people. Like it matters to you what you
Yeah.
create.
Mhm. No, yeah, it does. I mean, uh, you know, we grew up in a different era, and of course, there are things that I regret in my life, and I would never want any of my supporters or my kids to. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but I would love for them to avoid the mistakes if possible and learn from my mistakes. And so I'm very mindful of trying not. I do have another account, but for my main account, I'm very mindful to not have any, like, not have any swearing. There's sometimes some intended ones, like with the slogans, like what is they have the abbreviations, but I'm very intentional with the over sexualization as well, because that is important to me. As I don't fault, like, women who want to be sexy and beautiful, like, yeah, no, of course, and I love the dances and stuff, but I am very mindful of that for my particular content and the way I want to present myself and the way I want uh my supporters to I don't know,
To see
I
you.
guess, yes, to see me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't see you visually. Like I said, at first it was just an avatar. And you have always been the kindest human I have
Oh.
ever met and so humble. And I always felt that. I literally felt it in your voice. I didn't even have to see you, but you are so, and this word's authentic is so overused, but you are really who you are. Like
Oh.
anybody who's watching this video or hearing your voice, like this is Hiromi. Like this is you. Like no joke. And I love that you show that you have real clarity about what you share.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I get like emotional when people say that, because it really means a lot when people see that in me. And you and I talk a lot. Like, we just had a back channel about imposter syndrome. And yeah, I have imposter syndrome, and I always hope that people see kindness in me. And even my yoga teacher, she always ends her yoga class with, the good in me sees the good in you. And I
Mhm.
always hope people see the good in me. And I make mistakes. I'm sure everybody does. And I beat myself up when I do make mistakes, or when I don't make someone feel like, if I have an off day and I might have made someone feel bad. And I always say this, I always try and do my best to apologize to someone for any anything, if I've done anything wrong. So I always am mindful of that. But I'm very thankful when people see that in me. So I just want to say thank you to you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome. And to that end, you do apologize. Like
Mhm.
you're always taking the pulse of what's happening. And if something doesn't feel right in your heart, like you always react. And we used to be in rooms where sometimes the personalities were
Mhm.
not very kind.
Mhm.
There was like maybe some bullying or things happening. It happens,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
people in a room. It's going to happen no matter where you are. And you always like you would go into the comments and you would like apologize, or you would go on like a back channel on
Mhm.
Instagram where like our team was there, because like we had a team of people that were
Mhm.
educating every day, like we said in the beginning, Monday through Friday for 2 hours every morning. And if something wasn't going right, you would get into that channel and you'd be like, hey, everybody, look, I'm sorry it's going this way. Let's try and turn it around. And I know that she didn't mean it to come out that way, or he didn't mean to say it that way, or he's going to
Mhm.
get off the stage for now because we hurt somebody's feel. Like you were always present.
Oh, thank
And
you.
that's a really, that's a talent. Like I think a
Oh.
lot of people aren't present like that, and they'll let it go. They like don't really care. They're like, "Well, I don't need to apologize. I didn't do it." Like you felt a
Yeah.
responsibility like to the team
Yeah.
as well as yourself. Like I always loved that about
Mhm.
you, you know?
Oh, thank you, Holly. Thank
And
you.
and I would tell you that I'm taking this from my great therapist, Coco Nelson, giving her a shout out here.
Hi.
She said that because we were talking about imposter syndrome, and she said if you didn't have it, then you are a narcissist, and you are the polar opposite of that. You couldn't be further away from being a narcissist. You will never be one in this
Really?
in this lifetime. And so I think a good dose of imposter syndrome is good for humanity, actually.
It's I actually I have a therapist too, and I love her. I think everybody needs a therapist just to keep their mental health in check, just like your physical health. And being on social media and being present and being an actress, I actually was thinking, wait a second. It's even when I read about narcissism, and everybody has a little bit of maybe some traits from it, maybe. And so I even asked my therapist, "Am I a narcissist?" And she's like, "No."
No, not at all.
So
Not an ounce in you. What I would probably say is, as an actress, I mean, you have to maybe have I know we're not supposed to use the word ego, but like, I think
yeah,
you have to have a certain amount to show up
yes.
and do what you're going to do as an actress, right?
Mhm.
Like, whether you're portraying somebody else, like you have to have a certain, and maybe it's not ego, maybe it's confidence. I don't
Mhm.
know. But yeah, shout out to our therapists. It took me a long time to find one and put
Yeah.
one in motion. And like, look, even our therapists have therapists. There's something good
Yep.
about it. So
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
no argument there. No
Yeah.
argument there. Hiromi, you're amazing. I'm just
Mhm.
so glad that we finally got to
Uh-huh.
do this, because we actually talked about it like
Yeah.
a long time ago, and it just was probably not the right time. But here I was talking about, connection, and I have always felt a deep connection to you. You're just a kindred spirit, and
Mhm.
you have a great soul. So thank you for coming
Oh,
on my show.
thank you. I loved it so much. And I'm so happy we finally got to do this.
I know. We worked
Yeah.
hard to get here, everybody. I just want you
Yes.
to know we really did.
We did.
And so this was your first podcast, is that correct?
Um,
Or
so
one of the
no,
first, anyway.
yeah, well, yeah, I've been asked to be on being on Clubhouse, and there's a lot of podcasters. I've been asked a lot, but I have been on maybe a few. I've
Okay.
been on a few last year and the year before, but I'm not on them. I really admire people who are on them continuously, but for me, I really have to know the interviewer really well. And most of the people who have interviewed me on their podcast, they're my friends. Right?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, like you, and I was on a couple of other they're people that I know really well, because it's very intimate being on someone's podcast, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's right, it's your baby too. And yeah, and I'm also very cautious of how I'm presented, and so I need to really have that trust with someone before I show up for them.
I think
Yeah.
that that is a really great framework for saying yes to come on a podcast or show or anything. I think more people should do it. A lot of people are just out there to, self promote as much as possible, but they
Yeah.
don't really think about the audience or who's interviewing them. And,
Mhm.
you and I have always had a good chemistry, and I
Mhm.
think that makes a difference. I think it's
Yeah.
smart that that is your prerequisite for saying yes.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even if they're not my close friends, at least I have to see their socials and see other podcasts that they do, and just get a feeling of how they interview and their style, and know that they, how, because then you can see that they take pride in what they do, and they really want to honor their guests. That's what's really important for me.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
I hope I did you good service. I hope I
You
honored you well, because I
did.
really felt honored that you came on my show. Thank you,
Oh,
Hiromi.
thank you. I'm honored you asked me. Yeah.
That's a wrap, my friend. We
Thank
did
you
it.
so much. Oh my
This
gosh.
is great. This was great.
Yeah.
I just want share your thoughts and ideas on coffee culture. You could put them in the reviews on Apple Podcasts or DM me on Instagram. And if you'd like to support an indie podcaster, there is a link in the show notes for buying me a coffee. Please subscribe and share a cup of coffee culture with your friends. This season is produced by Pale Blue Studios.